Hi, welcome back. Parent Power, Child Success, we're on our way. ABC Parenting Method, we're on our way. Hello, welcome back. Parent Power, Child Success Program application on your iPad, on your iPhone, on your Android device, on your Windows phone, you name it, you've got it. Welcome to the program once again. We are up to Parent Power skill number 6, inner self power. Now we've been talking a lot about building skills, some discipline issues, motivating, assertion, guiding our child in positive ways. But now we come to an essential bedrock issue, the inner self. The inner self is the engine, the powerhouse. I call it the solar self. It's really what guides our lives. When we are young, there are certain scripts that get written on our soul, get written in the inner self, by our own experiences, by the messages that parents and teachers and siblings, brothers and sisters have given to us, saying, well, I can only go so far, or I'm only so good, or I'm not that good at this or that, or I'm really capable, or I can overcome. I'm very intelligent, I'm very smart. I'm really, I really need help. I'm really lost by myself. The inner self is where we really learn what we are about, our self-concept, our capacity to succeed. Many of us have a strong inner self, which is wonderful, because a strong inner self gives us vitality and life and energy and fight and joy and happiness and spontaneity and resilience to bounce back from all kinds of difficulties, and the ability to feel humiliated and embarrassed and overcome that. The inner self can be radiating and spiritual and very divine and very wonderful. It can fuel our actions. It can give us the energy to jog, to play basketball, to do tennis, to do all sorts of sports. The inner self is our powerhouse. But some people have a weak inner self, or a non-existent inner self, or maybe a fragmented inner self, where they're insecure and they don't have much energy inside, and they're depressed and they're overwhelmed, and they kind of have insecurity and self-doubt. I wonder, I shouldn't have said this, and I shouldn't have done that, and why am I doing this? And that weak inner self really makes life very tough for them. Now, I hate to say it, but we parents, we help to build our child's inner self, for better and for worse. And in certain ways, a lot of parents can really do mistakes when it comes to building their child's inner self. They can undermine. Because look, we as parents have a lot of information, a lot of direction, a lot of guidance that we've got to give our child. Constantly, Jimmy, put on your coat when you go out in sub-zero weather, and Janie, why don't you smile a little bit instead of looking so angry all the time. And there's all sorts of messages and directions and guidance and good things that we have that we need to tell our children. We need to let them know. But very often, after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year of hearing us guide them and tell them what to do and do this and don't do that and want you to, it all becomes to feel like I'm being criticized. I'm not competent. I'm really not good. I'm not a good decision maker. The things that I'm doing don't make sense. And so sooner or later there becomes a kind of self-doubt that sets in for many of us and many of our children, because maybe parents have been too critical, too directive, too controlling, too rigid, and undermining of their child's independence. We as parents have to understand and accept that, of course, we're always going to love our children, but we have to understand and accept that our child may have different values, different personality, different traits, different strengths than us, different opinions, different thoughts, different ways of solving problems. It's not like we want to clone our children and make them just like us, but because we're concerned and we're so loving and we're so caring, we do want the best for them. And the solutions that we have found, we're hoping that they can use. So we give them all this information, we give them all this direction, we give them all the guidance. But sometimes it comes across as, or it begins to feel and be experienced as, criticism and undermining. We need to pour positive fuel into our child's inner selves. We need to build them up. And just false flattery and just going on and making our children feel as though they're king or queen of the universe, that's no good. Because the other extreme can happen. We don't want to build children who are so self-centered, self-involved, spoiled, and indulged that they think that no matter what they do is just the most wonderful thing. Either extreme is no good, and we have to be careful of that. As a matter of fact, it's a big, big, big problem today. Most teachers will tell you. Professionals, educators, parents even know. A lot of parenting today, there's too much spoiling going on. There's too much indulging. We don't want little giant to cry. We want to be their best friend. We need to parent them and set limits and be tough and be strong. And we can't always be liked by our children. So we can't be indulging them all the time or make them feel as though no matter what they do, it's good, or that doesn't take work to succeed. But in a realistic way, a specific and in a very personal way, we need to be their best coach and their best ally, applauding them, cheering them along, being their cheerleader, believing in them, helping them to believe in themselves. Give a person a fish, they eat for a day. Teach a person how to fish, they eat for a lifetime. Very often just throwing our compliments at them is not going to do it. Helping them to find ways to overcome a problem, bounce back from when they're feeling embarrassed and humiliated. You know, humiliation, when we feel like we did something wrong or like we're exposed for being stupid or dumb or people looking at us in the wrong way. And, you know, kids are merciless, mean to each other. And when our children experience that, they have a hard time. So yeah, if my parents says, yeah, I'm a great kid, it doesn't really matter because my best friend just turned on me or spread this rumor about me. So we need to teach them how to bounce back, how to have resilience, how to believe in themselves when they're feeling down. Not just try to do it for them or tell them about it. One way or another though, building our child's inner self is very, very critical. Now we see our child's external self, their social self, their behavior. We see the outside. And we're often reacting to all of our outsides. As a psychologist, I'm an ambassador to the invisible world, the world of emotions, of personality traits, of patterns and issues and things going on in the mind, things we don't see that are very powerful, thoughts, thinking, cognitive abilities, all sorts of things that build worlds, but are unseen. And so when we don't see something, we take it for granted, or maybe we think that it doesn't exist, but it's critically important. The inner self is unseen. So very often we as parents are reacting to our child's outer self, to their behavior, to what they do and what they say. And that's good, because they need to learn what to do and what to say in good ways. But we also need to be able to respond to their inner self. What's behind what they said? Why are they saying what they said? How can I help them inside? How can I have them express their inside better so that they're more connected to things? And so that when they do something that's not so good and I see negative behavior, I'm not just kind of overreacting to negative behavior, but I'm finding out, well, what's troubling them? What is the emotion behind it? Part of being a great parent in terms of building our child's inner self is to be a great listener, to really be an active listener, to really ask questions and find out from our child, you know, what's going on inside? How are they thinking? What are they feeling? That we really are interested in, to come back to something I've talked about an hour later, a day later, so that they know that someone's taking an interest in what's going on inside. Not just their behavior and acting right and getting great grades, but you know, what is the heart and soul, mind, emotions? What are your feelings going on inside? And we can do this by taking a real, genuine interest, by asking real, genuine questions, specific questions, finding out about them, really honoring and being impressed by the ways that they think and what they are feeling and what they're going through. At their age, it's really important. We're pretty concerned about the things that we're going through because we're going through a lot of stress. Life is really tough. We got to pay bills. We've got to be at the job. We're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. It's tough. We're preoccupied with our world and think, well, you know, nothing could be tougher than the adult world and the adult problems that we have. It's all relative and dependent upon where you are. To a fish's problems, or a dog's problems, you know, are pretty intense to them. To our children, their problems are their world. Particularly as they're growing up and they're processing more and they're thinking more and they get more of an inner self going on in terms of their thoughts and their consciousness inside, it becomes tougher. Which is part of the reason why by early adolescence, by early teenage years, preteen years, teenage years, middle school, and high school, they've got more going on inside than they can often deal with. And parents often think, well, gee, this is a time where, my child is really, is telling me that they don't want me in their life anymore. They're doing fine. I'm too controlling. I'm too strict. All the other friends are not. But I'm not going to, back away. But yet, I don't want to be too invasive. It's a tough time for parents when your child is a teenager. That's when they need you more than ever, because there's a lot going on inside, and they shut us out and they lock us out and they don't want us in, and they want to create barriers because they're struggling with their independence. But at the same time, they're dying for us to help them, to nurture them, to baby them, to care for them, to at least understand them. So particularly during adolescence, middle school, high school, if we can be there and ask the right questions and listen hard without being too judgmental, obviously there are things that we need to still help them to make the right decisions on, because adolescents are impulsive and adolescents don't always use their thoughts. But if we can really show them that we believe in their capacity to make good decisions, in what they're feeling as being important, and what they're thinking as being critical, and their values that they're now experimenting with and looking at and thinking about, and their peer relations, which are driving them crazy in terms of who's friends with whom, and boyfriend and girlfriends and crushes and puppy dog love and real love and all kinds of stuff going on for them. If we can show that we're really caring, involved, understanding, listening, accepting them, then we can really help them to build a good inner self. There are many steps involved in helping them to build a good, strong inner self, and you'll find some of these in the Parent app. But certainly in terms of it, we need to have them be able to understand their emotions and express their emotions. Emotions also run the show. Emotions are very important. Emotions are a fifth sense, telling us what we want, what we need, what we feel, what our reactions are, what's important to us. And a lot of us don't deal with emotions too well. Well, having a good, strong inner self has to do with good emotional intelligence, good emotional skills. And some of us want to push our emotions away, lock our emotions away. We think, well, it means that we're not quite superhuman. We want to be a machine, and emotions really feel as though they are, crippling and difficult and hard, and my anger gets the better of me, and my depression, my anxiety. Other people just let their emotions rip and take them over, and they just kind of are in a sea of their emotional reactions, and they become frustrated and angry and scared and insecure and helpless and depressed and overwhelmed. So either people lock them away or let them overcome them and overtake them. But third kind of person has a relationship with their emotions, knows that they are a sixth sense, and we wouldn't want to be without our sight, our hearing, our taste, our touch, or anything else. So we certainly don't want to give up our emotions. They are a sixth sense. It's like one of those Next Generation Star Treks. They had someone from the planet, I believe, Empath, and she really used her feelings really well. And so whenever people with their Spock-like knowledge could not solve intellectual problems from thinking them through, they turned to her. Well, what do you feel about this? And she would just be intuitive and feel her feelings and value her feelings and her emotions. And therefore, that would be guidance for everybody. So somebody who has a good, positive relationship with their emotions makes friends with them, nurtures their emotions, controls their emotions, expresses their emotions, guides their emotions, lets their emotions act as fuel. Well, we can help our children to have a positive relationship to their emotions if we really talk about their emotions, have them talk about their emotions, talk about our emotions with them, name emotions. A lot of people don't even have names for their emotions. Understand emotions. A lot of people don't know the difference between anger and aggression. But anger is an emotion, and anger is a good emotion. It tells us important things about what we want and what we need. Aggression is a behavior that violates the rights or feelings of other people, which generally leads to problems and consequences, which is not good. So we need to help our children to understand, well, anger is not the same thing as being aggressive. Anger can be used and expressed in positive ways, productive ways, effective ways, and good ways. So we need to help them with their emotions. Another critical element of the inner self is resilience, the ability to bounce back. So many times, ourselves, our children, become overwhelmed with problems, with trouble, with difficulty, with other people, and we don't bounce back. We just kind of get thrown, and it's very hard. We need to teach our children how to be resilient, how to overcome, how to feel better about themselves. Another aspect of the inner self is self-concept. We need to feed our child with positive messages about who they are, being very specific. The more specific, the better than just general comments. Oh, you're such a wonderful girl, boy, child, is not as effective as you're really good at thinking things through, at really using your mind. You're really good at expressing yourself. I think it's mentioned in the Parent Power app that when we give messages to our children, we really build a self-concept. And even if we think that our child is particularly really not so good at something, if we tell them the opposite, no, when you want to be, you're really good at getting your homework done. Well, the first time they look at us like we're crazy and like we're a nut, and they kind of know we're faking it and giving them false information. But then we keep saying, no, I mean it, you're really good, when you want to, you're a very determined person. You can get your homework done, really work hard, work well. Well, then it sinks in, they start to believe it, then they want to prove it to themselves and prove it to us. And finally they feel really proud about it and really good and special, being able to do that. So even when we give them messages about what they're not quite yet, they're able to live up to that message. Children and people will live up to the messages that are given to them in terms of their becoming self-concepts, for them to believe who they are, what they're about. And finally, another key inner self skill is our ability to care and love for others, our ability to create a relationship, our ability to be touched by others and touch others. And this is something that is critical for us to be able to give to our children. Children who have had their inner self ignored or undermined or criticized are so busy protecting themselves or having defenses erected against the hurt that comes from that. Because when our inner self is attacked, it feels like emotional death, maybe like real death, like physical death. A threat is very preoccupying, and it really makes a child very nervous, makes an adult very nervous. But a child who feels given to, loved, cared for, then they've got the capacity, the modeling, the knowledge of how important it is to be able to love, care for, give to other people, help other people. So certainly love, care, affection, and being able to be in a relationship where where one is connected to others, where one feels a part of others, a part of the group, a part of a relationship, is something very, very central for the self to feel nurtured, cared for, and to be able to likewise give nurturing care to other people. So remember always, find all sorts of different ways to build up your child's inner self. The app names a couple of key ways to be able to do it. Discover many on your own. Once you have the intention, you will find ways to be able to do it. But first, make sure that you are building your own inner self. As I said, we're busy. Adults are running around like crazy. And we can be insecure, overtaken by our emotions, and not have time for our inner selves. Women are socialized to care for other people. And women in particular, and mothers in particular, have a lot of difficulty because they don't prioritize it. It's very hard to prioritize it. They're doing 1,000 other things. But unless we as parents are taking care of our inner selves, nurturing our inner selves, believing in our inner selves, I call it radical self-support. Unless we're giving ourselves radical self-support, it's going to be a lot harder to give to our children. So always remember, give yourself radical self-support. Never turn against yourself. Believe in yourself. Nurture yourself. Express yourself. Do things that help you to care for yourself. And that will make it easier and more possible to care for, love, and build the inner self of your child. It's like planting seeds. These things don't change with a flick of the switch. We are not mechanical. We're not technological. We are organic. We plant seeds and we grow and water and cultivate those seeds in rich soil in order to grow the inner self of our children and our own inner self, to grow stronger and more powerful into a big, strong plant, big, strong tree. So with time, you will do a fantastic job. Look how beautiful your child is already. You're doing a great job. But just remember the importance that everyone needs help. with building and strengthening their inner selves. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you in the next Parent Power, Parent